It feels like I've been waiting an entire lifetime to be able to tell you all about this. I'm so happy. I can't believe it's finally here. And I promised I wouldn't cry. In today's video, we're gonna do two different things. First, we're gonna talk about filters, some of the different kinds, what they do, why you might wanna use them. For those of you who are new to the world of camera filters, this should be a nice primer for you. And for everyone else, hopefully it's a good refresher. And the second thing we're gonna talk about, the thing that I'm so excited about, is the brand new magnetic 7-in-1 variable ND system from the sponsor of this video, Freewell. Freewell sent me out one of the original prototypes for this almost a year ago now, and the final version is even better and more exciting than that one was, and I loved that one when I got it. This is the most versatile and convenient filter system that I've ever used, and between you and me, I'm pretty sure I found about 9, maybe even more functions with this, even though they called it a 7-in-1. But before I get ahead of myself, let's take a look at some of the different filter types that we can use. The first type of filter on our list is called a circular polarizer, or CPL. A circular polarizer is a filter that goes in front of your lens that you can rotate to cut out specific reflections. This can really help for a number of things. If you're shooting something with glass, like a building or the windshield of a car, this can be used to cut the reflection so that you can see through the glass, or at least get rid of some of the glare. All you have to do is put the circular polarizer on your lens and then turn it until you cut out the amount of glare that you want. A polarizer can also be handy for cutting the glare off water or any kind of like wet rocks or plants that you might be shooting. But beyond the more obvious reflections, polarizers can be used to reduce haze and get a deeper color in the sky when shooting at 90 degrees from the sun. You need to be careful of your angle here because a CPL may cause a strange gradient in the sky depending on where specifically you're pointed and how wide of a lens you're using. If you're using a super wide lens, you're gonna get part of the sky that the CPL works well on, the 90 degrees from the sun part, and then also get some of the other parts of the sky too. That's where that gradient comes from. The next type of filter is called a neutral density filter, or ND filter. An ND filter decreases the amount of light coming into the lens by a certain amount, and because of that, you'll often hear them called sunglasses for your camera. This can be really handy for a number of things, but in general, it allows you to keep your camera shutter speed, aperture, and ISO where you want them instead of having to sacrifice one or more of your settings to get the correct exposure. ND filters come in various strengths that you can use based on what you need in that specific situation. The markings can vary and can be a little bit complicated to explain, so I'm gonna leave a little guide down in the description that you can download. But in general, the bigger the number, the more light is being cut. So let's say, for example, it's a bright day outside and you wanna shoot a photo with a slower shutter speed to get some motion blur. Unfortunately, a slow shutter speed is going to make for a super bright image, and I might not be able to turn down my ISO anymore or stop down my aperture. Not to mention, maybe I want a more open aperture for the photo anyway to get that shallow depth of field. This is where I can apply an ND filter, and it will allow me to adjust the settings that I actually want for the photo. Also, for videos, we typically want a shutter speed that's double our frame rate for the most pleasing motion blur. So if I'm shooting at 24 frames per second, I want my shutter speed as close to 1/48 of a second as I can get. Unfortunately, on a bright day with a wide open aperture, this isn't gonna work very well. But if we toss an ND filter in front of the lens, we can get our settings how we want them without having to compromise. Now, if you're out shooting and you need to be changing the strength of your ND often, which is pretty common for video shooters especially, something called a variable ND is super handy. A variable ND is a combination of an ND filter and a circular polarizer that when you twist it, it changes the amount of neutral density on the fly. Obviously, this is handy because you don't have to keep changing filters over and over, but also because you can dial in the exact amount of neutral density that you need at any given time instead of being stuck with just specific filters that you have. So I can dial it into 2.724 stops if that's what I need, rather than being stuck with just 2 stops or 3 stops. Variable ND filters are often split into certain ranges to stop some of the cross-polarization issues that can happen with filters with too wide of a range. For example, the Freewells that we're going to talk about have 2 to 5 stop and 6 to 9 stop, and I haven't run into any cross-polarization issues with them at either end. And the third type of filter we're going to look at today is called a diffusion filter, or commonly referred to as a mist filter. These filters add a tiny speckled pattern on the filter that that creates a hazy, dreamlike look to your images. Specifically in the highlight areas, you'll notice something called halation, which is a soft bloom around the light. And depending on the type of mist filter, you can also get kind of a filmic looking lifted black. It reduces the contrast of the shot and it can look really cool if that's what you're going for. You can also get diffusion filters in several different strengths depending on what you need for the shot. Okay, so that covers 3 of the different types of filters that you might run into, but Freewell has done something really cool with this new system and taken a lot of the guesswork out of knowing which filters you might want to get. And on top of that, they've used everybody's favorite thing, magnets, to make a more versatile and more convenient filter system than I've ever seen. Let me show you. So typically when you use a filter on your lens, you have to screw it onto the filter thread, and if you want to change that filter, you got to screw it off and screw another one on. Freewell are specifically known for their magnetic filters, where you put a magnetic base piece on the lens and then the filters just snap to that, making it much easier to switch between filters. That being said, there were some limitations to what they could do with magnets and variable NDs, until now. This new system is similar in that there is a main base ring that you screw onto your lens, and then we have 4 other pieces that come with it. And depending on the combination that you use, you get different filter effects. And again, they're claiming 7 in 1, but I think we can find more than that. By placing the variable ND base filter inside the main piece and lining up the Freewell logo, you're already getting a one-stop ND filter. So if you just need that little bit of light cut, this might be enough. Then if you combine that VND base with the 2 to 5 stop filter by making sure that the 2 to 5 stop label is facing outwards and with the A and the arrow lined up with the corresponding A and Freewell logo, you now have a 2 to 5 stop variable ND filter with hard stops at either end of the range. The same process goes for the 6 to 9 stop variable ND as well. Just make sure it says 6 to 9 stop on the front and line it up. But if we take off the filters and take out the VND base, which has nice little grooves on it to make it easy to take out, you can replace that with the VND mist base, which actually gives you 1 stop of ND plus diffusion. Then you can combine that in the same way with the 2 to 5 stop variable ND to get a variable ND mist filter, which have become very popular lately. And of course you can do the same thing with the 6 to 9 stop filter for a heavier misted variable ND. But let's take off our filter and take out that mist base. If we grab our 2 to 5 stop filter and flip it around, we'll see that it says CPL. Toss this on the main piece with the CPL facing forward and no VND base in there, and you'll get a good old circular polarizer. Then if you grab the 6 to 9 stop filter, flip it around, you'll see that it says ND32 CPL. So if we put that on there, we get a 5 stop ND and circular polarizer combination. Now on top of all that, which is all the filters that you get inside the package, you can also combine with the original Freewell magnetic filters too. So let's say you already have some glow mist filters from Freewell, you can use those. Or maybe you want something a little heavier than the 9 stop you get from the variable ND. You can pick up an ND1000 filter from Freewell and use it in the same system. For me, there are certain situations where variable ND is great, but others I prefer to have a couple of choices of solid NDs, so I always keep a couple in the case that the whole system comes with. And the best part is that they're super thin and magnetic, so they barely take up any space. Okay, so that's the new system. I'm so excited to finally get to share with you all, but there are just a couple more things that you might want to know. When you pick up the new system, like I mentioned before, it does come with a case, but they've let me know that they've updated the case since the one that I got and made it even better, so that's exciting. You can also pick up matching magnetic front and back lens caps so that you can carry the 2 to 5 and 6 to 9 without a case just by sandwiching between the front and back caps. This makes the whole thing even more convenient because you could just toss it in your pocket and have a super quick access to the 2 different variable ND ranges without having to worry about getting fingerprints all over them. And you'll also be able to buy the base ring so that you can outfit multiple lenses to be ready to accept the filters. Again, even more convenient if you decide to go that route. So I'm sure you can see why I'm so excited about this. It's made using filters so much more convenient for me, and I've been thoroughly impressed with the quality as well, which is really no surprise if you've seen any of my other videos about Freewell's filters. If you're looking for more information, or maybe you want to pick one up, there's a link down in the description that you can check out. And as always, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment down below and let me know how much you love magnets, because they're just like magic. Or just, you know, comment whatever you want. And on your way down there, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Freewell for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you next time. I'm so happy. I can't believe it's finally here, and I promised I wouldn't cry. This is ridiculous.